Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are looking at this three-wheeler Trike. Many issues with this. It's pretty much unusable as it is, so we've got a work cut out, that's for sure. Just before I do continue, however, I just want to say this Trike belongs to someone with severe mobility issues, so please keep your comments respectful. I will remove them. Anyway, let's crack on with this. First job is getting it in the work stand. It doesn't even fit in the stand, so that's the first challenge we've got to overcome. Got to take a wheel off. Let's do that. So the problem is I can't get the clamp around the seat tube because this wheel's going to hit the stand, so I've just got to take this back wheel off, which is hidden behind this cover, I believe. Like that. Hopefully this just takes it straight off. And it does. So this should hopefully come off now and I can get it in the stand. Yeah, no problem. Now we can get her in. Right, so that's basically it. Now I'm going to take this basket off. I'm going to need access to all the stuff underneath it anyway, so let's whip this basket off first as well. There's just going to be these in here, which are nutted on the other side, of course you are. Right, that's better. So finally I can get it up in the air and I can show you what's what, because there's quite a lot of what. Probably easy to take this wheel off as well at the minute, so if you can afford an electric power stand, I would highly recommend it. Game changer. Right, what we got? Issues with the chain, it needs tensioning. The customer thinks it needs a new one. I don't think it does, it just needs tensioning and a bit of lubrication won't go amiss. We'll check the bottom bracket when we get all this off, get access to it. The main area of concern for me is it's not freewheeling. So the company that manufactures this Trike in the UK, I called them yesterday, helpful guys, and they assured me this should be freewheeling inside here somehow. So we've got to strip this out and find out what's going on there, because at the moment it's basically a fixed axle. And apparently it shouldn't be. Obviously there's no freewheel mechanism here, that's literally just a sprocket on a keyway. So if there is a freewheel of some sort, it's somewhere in here. He tells me he sells spare units as well, so potentially we might need to replace a part that lives in here. So that'll be a challenge, that's for sure. The rear coaster brake on here that's not doing it a great deal at all, so we're going to have a look at that as well. The seat is loose in every direction possible, so it's going backwards, forwards, up and down. Actually, I'm just going to take this off now to give a bit more room as well. I'm going to take the quick release all the way off. Right, that's off. And again, to match the saddle, this handlebar is completely loose in this joint here. So hopefully we can tighten that up, maybe put some spring washers in. If not, we might need to look at replacing that. Front brake doesn't work at all. This has come undone, but it's not doing anything. There's no tension in there, so that brake's dead. Fork is absolutely destroyed in corrosion. I have ordered a new fork for this, however, it appears to be stuck in China somewhere, so it's still not arrived yet. So what I'm going to do is film the rest of the video today, and then this Trike's going to come back when the fork arrives. I'll film that being fitted and put it all together in one video for you. So the bell doesn't work. These brake levers have actually got parking brakes on it, which is unusual. You squeeze that in there and that allegedly locks the wheel. And it actually locked the front one. It's sort of working a bit. Needs a bit of work there. Right, so I'm going to take this back wheel off as well and just make a bit more room and to start investigating what's going on with this axle. Yeah, got some wildlife in here, ladybirds. Alright, so that doesn't want to just pull off like I thought it might. It's either seized here or the whole shebang's attached somewhere else. Let's get some penetrating fluid in here first. Alright, I'll leave that soaking for a minute. I'm just going to get this chain guard off and sort this chain out. And so it came in for repair, so I thought, you know, it's got wheels, something different. Let's get it on camera, see what we can find. Always try to keep some variety on the channel, as you've probably noticed. Pretty much everyone's been different so far, which is good. I'll go over this funky pedal, is it? Got some weights on these pedals. Right, let's whip this off. Very shortly this will be down to a bare frame, I think. It's annoying this fork hasn't arrived. It seems to be stuck in China somewhere. It's coming from AliExpress. It's a 24-inch fork, so it's not the easiest thing to get hold of. I can get them in the UK, but they're literally 3 times the price of AliExpress, who normally get here within a week, but this one's been quite considerably longer so far. The customer's fine, they're just going to pop it back when it arrives and put a new fork on. Not the end of the world. Looks actually in good condition, well within spec, sort of 0.6, so it's fine as it is, just needs lubricating and the tension setting correctly. Not sure if we're going to have some sort of link on here. KMC chain. Well, there's no link at all on this chain, so we'll either leave it on as it is and work around it. Got some play on this bottom bracket as well, so we may as well have this out while it's here. Let's just take this other pedal off while we've got it out. Was fitted with some anti-seize agent on there, so it's been fitted pretty nicely together. Let's get this brake off. We're going to change the cable and everything, and they're so cheap, these V-brakes, so we'll put a complete new unit on. It's less than the price of a set of brake pads, believe it or not. Just ridiculous. £4 I think for a set of V-brakes. Like That's trade obviously, but they're not much more retail. This front wheel off first, it's a little bit in the way. Get your lawyer tabs off. It's out. Got a few cobwebs on it as well. By some miracle this fork might arrive today, you never know. It does say it's awaiting a flight in China. That was over a week ago. So I think it's either lost or they've not kept up to date with the tracking. We'll see. Well, these are all seized pretty much solid. Can be one of them, innit, where everything's seized. So I'm just going to hit the return. There you go, that's come straight off on that one. Good. So yeah, there's something wrong with that. But like I say, for the price of a new one, it's genuinely not worth pissing around with. We'll just get a new one on there. This one, I'm going to hit the return spring. I'm just going to hit the back of the spring on this one, and it should hope to dislodge it. Hopefully. Not quite. So now we're going to aim for the caliper. Something's moving. Disgusting. Yeah, there wasn't much grease on there, that's disgusting. No corrosion this, that's good. Most of that is the PB blaster, I think. Yeah, that's cleaned up fine. They'll live. Good. Well, it's literally 0 point cleaning this fork. I'll get the cobwebs off it, but like I say, it's been changed. Well, I mentioned that a few times already, sorry. A little bit of surface corrosion we can live with, but these are, yeah, they look just ridiculous. By the time we finish the rest of the Trike, it should look half decent, so they have asked for a new set of forks. So then that's what we'll be getting at some point, maybe, hopefully. They are obviously extremely basic forks, and that's what's going to go back on. The same Zoom, extremely basic forks. We're not putting a £400 set of RockShox on this, guys, calm down. When I did my video about changing forks, people are like, I mean, customers have budgets, guys, you know, it's not unlimited, blank checkbook type thing, let's put a £1,000 fork on it. They work to a budget and I have to work to that. We're going to change all the cables anyway. I'll say all, there's only 2. No gears on this. Headset actually feels alright. This stem is a problem though, so I think we'll have a look at that while I'm still debating what to do with that axle thing. So I'm hoping it's just really, really loose and it'll just nip up, no problem, but you'd also presume that they've already tried that. These adjustable stems do kind of sometimes end up a bit like this as well. Yeah, that's pretty damn tight as it is. Top quality bolt as well. Yeah, really tight. It'd be better to just change this over to a one-piece stem, really. 14 to 15 Newton. Oh, the other side's just spinning, obviously. Well, it's going to flop down and smack me in the face in a minute, isn't it? There's the bolt. It comes off there, so there's no washers or anything in there. I'm just going to disconnect this coaster brake first, drum brake, whatever you want to call it. Just cut that off, and there's a 10mm here. Just so we can get the cable out of the lever, which we just pull out now. Yep. I can pull this cable out of the frame. Bit of corrosion. A lot of corrosion. Disconnect this from this brake lever now. I think I might have found the problem. There's another bracket down here with some serrations that obviously grab to the stem. That bolt's not been tightened up. So I think we'll just reassemble it as it is and make sure this gets tightened up this time. We'll have to get some new microfibers soon. I'm running out. You go through so many microfibers. I do wash them a couple of times, but they don't last forever. I think this will be okay once that's tightened because it grabs onto these serrations here, you see. And it wasn't doing that. Just get some Loctite on this bolt. I've got my new Pritt stick one, but I'm just going to use this up for now. Keep calling it Pritt stick. I guess you guys in America don't know what Pritt stick is. It's basically a glue stick, which looks identical to this, but this is Loctite, like that. And you just dab the bolt in. I guess you can wind this in and out, same as Pritt stick as well. So I'm going to start to use this a lot more. It's really good for small bolts. You literally just scratch it across there and it's covered. Really good. I'll just reassemble this as it was, properly this time. So we'll go for the lowrider look, I think, or put it back to where it was roughly. Need to take this 6mm out because it is sort of locking it in there. Not a million miles away from where it was, I don't think. Alright, that's already feeling better and I've not even tightened it up yet. I think, to be fair, it was one up from there, wasn't it? I think that's about where it was. I'll tighten this down. That's got rid of that play automatically. That's gone. I'll just finish tightening these two up. Solid. Chuck some new V-brakes on here. Obviously it's all got to come off when we change the fork again, but it's no big deal. 2 minutes work. Bit of grease on here anyway, it's just for now. It's a bit annoying having to go back and revisit stuff, but it's out of my hand, unfortunately. There's a big burr on the front of this. Can't get this on, so I'm just going to file it off. It's just right on the front edge. Good. That'll do for now. Obviously we've got to put the wheel in and set these pads, but we'll just turn them through 90 degrees first. That's the second time this handlebar's attacked me. Make sure you get the curvature of these pads right, because they do follow the angle of the wheel. You can get them upside down quite easily. I see it all the time. Goes that way to follow the curve of the wheel, you see. Right, we'll set them when the wheel goes back in, but they're basically on. I'm just going to fit a new bell wire down this end. A lot of people don't think about these, but they cost me almost nothing, and it just feels like the right thing to do. Done. Grips, I think they're actually supposed to look like this, sort of black and red mottled look. I'm not sure. I'm going to give them a quick clean, see if they come up a bit better. I think all my cloths are too dirty to make much difference on this though. I think they're designed like that. You do get the mottled grips, just permanently look dirty, I guess. But right, we'll leave them on as they are then, because they're actually in good condition. Let's go to lube in this brake lever pivot. Same on the other side. Couple of crusty bolts in this stem as well. See if I've got something a bit shinier than that. Customer has asked if we can clean it up the best we can, so the one's on the stem there as well. So I'll go and look for some of them in a bit. I'm pretty sure I've got some. Right, let's go back to this, see how we get this beast off. Because I don't know. I think you've probably got to disconnect these two shafts in the middle first, which are on a keyway, Allen key and a keyway, and I think the whole thing is just going to pull out then, hopefully. But this is definitely separate. Obviously you can't have a bearing that's part of a shaft, so they are separated at some point. Let's undo them. So my suspicion is I need to undo both of these here, and the axle will all go that way there. It wasn't very tight, was it? And this is for the brake that's not working. Just give this hub a bit of a tap now on this. There's a big steel plate here you can hit with the nylon bit. Right, something's moving. Good. So this entire shaft from this end here is coming with it. So it's just one gigantic shaft by the looks of it. All will be revealed. But that does mean I can hit it on this end of the shaft. I'm struggling to see how this has got a freewheel in it, guys. And knock this brake hopefully off this keyway, because it's still stuck to there a bit. Like that. You don't see many bikes with keys on, that's for sure. There you go, that just pulls out there now. Just going to get some lubricant in here. Fully committed now, right? I'm pushing that back in to get the lube where it needs to be, and then I'll come back out. Could be very challenging to get back in, you know. Guys having a laugh, winding me up. There can't possibly be a freewheel in there. Right, well, I'm struggling to see how there could possibly be any sort of freewheel here, because that shaft there goes all the way through there, all the way out to the other wheel as a one-piece steel shaft. So there's nothing in there that could detach the two, because I can definitely feel that's the same shaft. There's nothing in this hub here. This plate seems to be welded to the hub. Yeah, it's pinned on through here. There's no way to get that off there. So there's nothing can be in the hub either. So it appears to not have a freewheel. It must just be a fixed axle. The guy must have been thinking of a different model. So I don't see any point in persevering pushing that all the way out, because it's going to be an absolute nightmare to get it lined up between 4 bearings and get these middle bits back on at the same time. So we know it's moving nicely. The bearings all feel good. So I'm tempted just to drift it back through and put it back together as a fixed wheel trike, which I believe it is. However, I'm going to do a quick bit of research first, so I'll come straight back. Emailed the company again with some pictures just to confirm we're talking about the same trike, because I physically can't see how this can possibly have a freewheel built into anywhere. So while I'm waiting for a reply on that, we can move on to some other bits. So let's do this bottom bracket next. Quite a bit of play on this bottom bracket, so while we're here we may as well just take it out and grease it anyway. Not too difficult. So just take this nut off here and then spin this one out with the lock washer in the middle, grease it, put it back together. Super easy. So left hand thread on this, like that. Take that nut off, take this lock washer out, it's got a little tab in the middle of it like that, and this will just spin off. Take this out and you have some giant balls inside the bottom bracket. They are caged though, so they're pretty easy. Yeah, they're actually really good condition, not a load of grease on this. Good. So it was just loose. So now while that's been serviced, I don't know what's happened to the rest of the trike. So you just drop that bearing out there, it literally just falls out. And then you just twist that through until it comes out the other side. So it's literally just a one-piece crank there, so that sits there with that bearing. and it just forges through in an S shape into one piece. So very, very basic. Same as a BMX really. Well, cheaper BMXs, newer ones have 3-piece cranks, 2-piece. Loads of grease on this. This is in really good condition. Well, I'm just going to put that back in as it is. It doesn't need anything. Grease is super clean. Looks like it's been done very recently. I'm guessing that's all they did. Put that back in there. It's finish line grease as well. It's spotless. I hope they reply quickly because there's not much more I can do until they let me know what I'm doing. There's no harm contacting manufacturers if you're not sure. You know, I see absolutely everything under the sun here, so you know, unfortunately I can't be expected to know everything. And normally it's just a case of locking this up and making sure that doesn't spin at the same time. What you normally have to do is sort of overcompensate for when this locks up. It will move this with it a little bit, so you overcompensate till it ends up where you want it when you've tightened it. If that makes sense. Right, do that. Tighten this up and you'll probably see this one move. It might be behaving actually. Got a little bit too tight, so we'll back this off and then undo this a smidge like that, and then tighten it back up. And just keep doing that until you get it right. Still too tight. So tuck this off a bit more again, and then tighten this up. It's feeling a bit better. No play in there, so we'll go for a final tighten there. Nice and tight. There you go. Good. That's that. Pretty straightforward job. Can't work out how that bit is perfectly maintained, perfectly greased. Oh, I don't know. So just before I continue, I want to take a minute to thank this channel's ongoing sponsor, sportandleisure.com. Sport and Leisure are a UK-based cycling retailer with thousands of parts, tools, clothing, accessories, all ready to ship. Their listings are clear with great descriptions and really good pictures, so you really know what you're ordering. I can appreciate that after using some other not quite so good sites. So if things are listed as in stock, then it's actually in stock on the shelf and ready to ship. Order before 3 PM and it will ship the same day. UK shipping is free on all orders. But if you need it faster than that, next day delivery is just £2.50. Again, UK only. So whether you're after some new wheels, brakes, even a group set, tyres, check them out. Their prices are pretty much unbeatable. So they've also given me a discount code for viewers, so if you use the code BCR10 at checkout on your first order, you'll get an additional 10% off their already incredible prices. Amazing! So the link's in the description below. Thanks again to Sport and Leisure for continuing to support the channel. Now let's get back to this trike. Just going to give it a bit of a wipe down while we're waiting for the magical information from the manufacturer. It's actually in reasonable condition. Obviously it's picked up some surface corrosion over the years, but not too bad. I've seen a lot worse. The fork's not done well, obviously. And the stickers have seen better days, but not much we can do with that. Super speedy response from missioncycles.co.uk. Thanks guys, they've literally just took 5 minutes to reply to that email with some pictures. That's really good. So they seem to think from the pictures this has been converted at some point to a fixed axle. So I won't take that apart any further than what I'm doing now. I'll put it back together and then we'll set the chain tension, etc. Get that working and get the brake working. Thanks guys. Alright, so mystery solved. It doesn't have a free wheel, it's a fixed axle. I just couldn't see how it's physically possible, so it's worth checking if you're not sure, which I wasn't sure obviously. Alright, so I'm going to put these bolts back in there. I'll put these crusty bolts back in, but I'm going to find something a bit shinier first. So drop a stainless one in here with some grease on it. Keyway is still in place on this one. It's the brake one that I've took out, so this can just go back where it was, basically butted up exactly there. All the way over. We can move this if need be to get the chain line correct, but that shouldn't be far off. Nice and tight on that, like that. So this keyway will drop in to here, and it's just a case of lining it up here. If you're not familiar with keyways, they're just basically wedges of steel that lock two components together, kind of in a very basic term. You definitely won't find these on a normal bike. Right, that's about there. Actually that brake sits just on these spaces here, so that's comfortable where it is there. And another stainless bolt with some grease going in there. I'm pretty glad I didn't have to take this axle out, to be fair. That could have been just a nightmare to get back in properly. I'm going to get that grease off because we are next to the brake. And yeah, nice and tight there. That's back together. So with that back together, we can put this chain back onto the chain ring here now that's tightened up. And we can set this chain tension because that's a problem. I'm going to throw this back on here. Like that. So this chain's way too loose at the moment, so we've got 4 bolts here. All we need to do is basically loosen these off and move the entire axle back, and that'll tension that chain. Still struggling to get it on my stand with this other wheel back on, so I'm just going to loosen these off now. Same on the other two on the other side. Give this a bit of a gentle tap on this nylon bit here. Right, you can see that moving there because I can see a fresh dirt line behind this bolt. So all we're looking for is to see this dirt line moving. That's moved a couple of millimeters there already. That's enough. I'm just smashing directly against my face now, so don't advise. Well, that should be enough. So we over tighten one, then we'll tighten this up, and then we'll pull the other one back, and it's just a case of balancing it like that. So I'll just nip these up for now. At least one of them. Chain is tight, but we're not straight, that's the problem, so we need to move this axle back the same amount on the other side. Right, so that's straight and we've got good tension there now. So now we can tighten these back up. Nice and tight because otherwise it'll just pull forward again. I'm going to tighten these a bit further with this long spanner because you really don't want this pulling forwards because it'll just loosen the chain again. Right, tight. Tight. So now that should work a lot better. Chain should stop falling off. Let's go with the gears. Let's just put a pedal in here. That doesn't fit. Dummy pedal doesn't fit. It's got 1/2-inch axles. We are on a fixed axle, we know that now. Thanks for confirming that. That sounds pretty good. Let's get some lube on the chain. Don't use this. Or this. Use this, a lubricant specific for bikes. This is a wet lube. Something like this where it's probably going to get left outside, a bit of a lack of maintenance. I tend to put a wet lube on there. Problem with dry lube is when it's worn off you can't really tell because it's dry and the customer's not going to know the difference on this. So we're just going to put some wet lube on here, and when it sort of looks wet and greasy you'll know it's got some lube on it. Right, so one link at a time usual. I'm going to actually do it on top of this sprocket because I don't mind if a little bit drips down in back here. Basically it's going to just quieten things down a bit. So I'm just going to do this. It's going to take me half an hour though. It's a massive chain. I can turn the wheel, can't I? I keep forgetting it's fixed. 1 litre of oil later. Right, after this I'm going to run a brake cable to the back brake. We'll do the front brake, and we'll fix the saddle that's wobbly. And then we need to wait for China to send me the fork. Normally pretty quick, but I don't know why this fork's got delayed. It's just got stuck somewhere by the looks of it. But sometimes you probably know yourself, the tracking doesn't tell the truth and then it just arrives that day. That's what I'm hoping for. Right, that's lubed. Just a little bit of noise down here where these two metal bits are. They meet, so I'm just going to put a drop of lube down there. Better. Don't go too crazy wiping off the extra lube because it's going to help protect against corrosion at the end of the day. This TF2 stuff's very good for that. I'm just going to try and find some replacement bolts for some of these as well because they did want it cleaning up a bit in respect to the rust, which is fine. Let's see what I've got. The paintwork itself's come up quite nice, just a bit of an oily rag. It actually looks really good. Yeah, that's the business end done really. Got to set this brake. Got to put a new brake cable to this, and we can set that brake up a bit better. Try and find some better bolts in here, and then back end probably about done really. To be fair, just going to cut new housing for the rear brake. However, I'm going to use compressionless housing on this because these brakes are pretty terrible and they need all the help they can get. So compressionless housing should help with that. Compressionless cable is basically the same as gear cable, so the strands go longitudinally, that's a big word, rather than spiral, because on a brake the spirals basically just compress and you lose a lot of power. So things like cable operated disc brakes, if you can get compressionless housing, it's way better. A bit more expensive, but it does a much better job. So I'll just cut this to length. Right, so that's cut. I'm just going to run this through these bosses on the frame. On there. Should be about right. And as ever you need a cable end on there. There's a little tool that they seem to use just in factories that puts 2 bands around here as an OEM finish. I can't find a tool anywhere that does the same job. Get something similar but not the exact one that I'm looking for. It obviously just goes back to the lever like this. Probably a bit on the long side actually, but in fact it's very much on the long side. So I'm just going to trim that. It's a bit long actually. It's probably about £1 worth of compressionless housing. It's expensive. Open that back up with your pick. End cap on there. I'm sick of this handlebar spinning around, that's for sure. I'm putting this on. Right, I'll just put this brace on because I'm sick of this handlebar swinging around and smashing me in the face. Brake cable, no different to anything else. Apart from it's got this parking brake on it. I've seen them before. Line up your slots on the front, and then round to there, and you can just slot this straight in then. Like that. And through this super duper housing. Honestly guys, it makes a massive difference. If you've got cable disc brakes and you're struggling, this should be the first thing you try. Compressionless housing. This end's done, so we'll move down to the actual brake itself, see if we can improve that. So the cable just goes through there. You've got one barrel adjuster, you've got another one on the lever, and it just goes through this bolt here basically. Just hook that through the back of the bolt. Struggling to get a camera anywhere because it's 3-wheeler. that's basically on there like that. And then you need to sort of basically set some tension on this. Obviously it can rotate at the moment, so the more I move this lever in, that's basically putting the brake on. In theory, I'm doing absolutely nothing, I think. This is a band brake, which is probably the worst kind of brake you've ever seen on a bike or trike even. So this cable goes here. It's very similar to a car handbrake, really, parking brake. Just pulls the cable and there's a big band basically wraps around the centre of this and holds it on. They're pretty terrible, to be fair. If we can get it sort of slowing down, that'll be a bonus, and we'll rely on the V-brake on the front to do the majority of the braking. There's two little screws here. Basically there's a band that goes inside here, and just the cable just pulls that band onto the hub. So we can adjust these screws to get that band sitting as close as possible without actually rubbing, and give it half a chance of doing something, but believe me, they're terrible. If you've got one of these fitted to your bike and you've got the option to fit something like a rim brake, V-brake, caliper, even a caliper, then I would suggest doing it rather than persevering with this, because they're just, well, not great. So just loosen these lock nuts. Then we're going to try and adjust these screws to get that band sitting a bit closer without rubbing. If it gives me more power, I can live with a tiny rub. You're just hoping if someone hasn't lubricated this with oil or something over the years, because it's quite a spongy material. It's literally just a band, and they kind of absorb oil and they're pretty much dead then. You can get a new brake pretty cheaply, but unfortunately it's not very straightforward to fit it on this, because we've got to pull all this axle thing out, which we've already seen is not particularly easy. So you can sort of see this green bit here. This is the band underneath. It's like literally a spongy sort of belt material. It's not metal or anything, and it just grips onto the surface of this hub. Normally you can sort of move these out of the way and sand preparation, sort of re-sand it and scuff it up, but like I said, because of the way this is designed onto this one-piece axle, it's kind of a bit challenging. You could take this out, slide the key away off and undo these bolts and do that, but you can do all that. You'll be here an hour and it's still going to be the worst brake you've ever experienced, so we'll see how it goes. So then all we need to do is connect this cable in here, obviously, and then we're going to pull this through with some good tension already on this arm, nip that screw up and see what happens. So tension this nut a bit so you can get it almost where it is, and then we're pushing this arm forward to start its activation and then lock it in place. But it is a fixed wheel at the end of the day, so if you stop pedalling, then I guess that's going to slow you down as well. Alright, not rubbing too badly. Squeeze this lever, see what happens. It doesn't feel horrendous. I'm kind of stopping a bit there, so we can play around with the cable tension here and out the lever, or you can pull a bit more through here, doesn't make any difference. So we'll just adjust it back here for now. And push that forward, get you some slack, you can pull this, you can wind this out. Lock that back up. So you've got one on the lever as well, or you could just do a bit more on here if need be. So see how that goes now. Unfortunately I don't have any of these bolts because they're very long. I'll see if I can get hold of some before the fork arrives. So we'll change these over at the same time. You can just put some cure rust or something on there, clean them up a bit though. Alright, let's just squeeze this lever. That's nice lever action. It kind of works. Alright, I think for now that's okay. We'll just trim this cable. Like I say, it is a fixed wheel at the end of the day, so just stop pedaling. Lovely. Watching the world go by. Tough life. Right, I'm going to drop it off the stand now, spin it back round, put the pedals and the chain guard back on, and probably put the wheel back on now actually, can't we? No, I can't, because I can't get it on the stand then. This is the non-glamorous bit they don't show you in the videos. Getting this thing in here. Up she goes. Actually looking pretty good on the back end now. It's actually cleaned up pretty well really, to be fair. Don't know how old this is, no idea. After the internet was invented. That helps. A massive dent in the chain guard. Obviously the chains fell off at some point because it's too loose and put a big dent in it, unfortunately. Not much we can do with that. Let's see if it rubs on anything when we get it back on, and then see if we need to deal with it. Damage on the back as well, but again, not much we can do with that. Get a new one, I guess. Looks like they've got good spares on these, so if we need something, it's available. Right, let's drop her on, see how it looks, and then we might need to do some body work. Right, just tighten this back on. It feels like not a lot of work. I mean, we've cleaned it up and lubricated things and adjusted the chain, but that's about all we've achieved at the back end, and potentially improved that brake slightly, I guess. But it's a pretty simple machine at the end of the day, I guess. There's not much, no derailleurs, no DI2, no hydraulic brakes, nothing, so it is pretty crude. Right, I'm going to rub on there. I took a massive bend on there at some point. So I'm going to have to just bend it back in again, like that. I've cleared it. Drop these pedals back on. There's coppery is on one side but not this side, so I'll put some grease on here. Sounds pretty good at the back, sounds pretty smooth. Right, that's all. There's another set of bosses on this frame, I don't know what that would have been for. Certainly no front derailleur or anything on it, so maybe it was a derailleur at one point and it's been converted like they said. Yeah, can't think what else would be. Obviously they make sort of one frame that fits all, I guess, but so that's that bit done. I'm going to look at the saddle next because that's definitely got issues as well. It's got a lot of play in it somewhere. Apart from that, that might actually roll now and maybe stop. I'll just wind this up and try this rubbish brake. Yeah, sort of works on the stand, but I know that doesn't mean a great deal on these. It's all about being on the road. Hi. Actually, I need to set this front brake and put the wheel in first before I can do the saddle, so I can get the trike level on the floor. So we'll just do that first. Right, let's just put this back in. No sign of these forks yet. I think they could be weeks away, months even. Hopefully that's a good fit. The tyres are massive. I need to just clear this fork. So we'll just set this pad up, disconnect the spring if you can, it makes life a lot easier. And then literally just use a 5mm in here and pivot around on these spaces, get the height right, and get it lined up with your rim. Nice and straight. You can tow it if you want to. Normally I don't find a requirement to. And then just make sure that's level in there like that. Dead easy. And then tighten it up. Tight enough. Put the spring back in. Repeat on the other side. Right, just get a cable on there. Can you fix it? Can you? No, okay. I'm just going to cut a new cable for the front as well. Useless cat. The cable's actually in really good condition, so I'm just going to refit this one. There's no resistance there at all. That's that in the lever. Connect it back to the brake. Let's see if this is 2 foot too long like the other one. Not too bad actually. Yeah, it's not bad. It's probably going to be way too loose. Yep. Might need to swap the spaces around on this V-brake actually. Actually not too bad, just got to set the balance on there. So we can increase the screw on that one there, increase the spring pressure. Or decrease the other one, don't make any difference. Still needs a bit more, quite a bit more actually. And we can back the other one off as well if need be, like I say. You can do it the other way, just pulling the spring out and bending it, that gives it more tension, but a bit risky, you might damage something. Right, that's about there now. Got a bit of a buckle there. Let's just pull this rim over a fraction. Oh yeah. Tighten that. Loosen that. Tighten that. It's a bit better. Just want to move this pad up a bit, it's a little bit low. Like that. Good. Once you're happy with that, just fully commit to this and tighten it up. Like so. You can fold this back there. Let me just take this off. Close. So just took that cable behind the spring there like that. So now I can just drop it down the floor, get it level on 2 wheels at least, and set this saddle level. Seat. It's just a very basic clamp on the bottom of the saddle. Hopefully these bolts are just a little bit on the loose side. Crank them up and it should be fine. That's locked it that way, however, we've still got some movement this way, which is no use. It's super loose. Yeah, could definitely take a bit more, that's for sure. I'll snap it, I've got another one, don't worry. Still moving a bit, needs a bit more than that. Pretty damn tight now. Right, that's pretty tight now. Let's see if that stopped it rocking backwards and forwards. Yep, that's good. Easy fix as well. So I'll revisit when that fork arrives, fit the new fork, clean all the headset out, etc. Although it feels really good. Find some new bolts for this while in the meantime. Put the wheel back on so I can get it off the stand in the meantime as well. I think actually the customer's taking it away, so I'll just drop that basket back on quickly as well, and then they'll bring it back in to change the fork over, which should only be a 20-minute job tops. Okay, so it's a week later and China has let me down big style. However, I have forks. Well, I actually did. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. I went to the manufacturer in the UK. Surprise, surprise, they've got spare forks on the shelf. Pretty much the same price as AliExpress as well. So these are exact replacement as to what came in, minus the corrosion, obviously. So they're going on. And while I was there, I got a new chain guard. And also while I was there, I got some new stickers. So we can get rid of these ones here and just tidy it up a lot. So first we're going to fit this fork. Should be very, very straightforward. This steerer is exactly the same length as the old one. All we need to do is fit a star knot in here, get the crown race off the old fork, fit it to the bike, put the brakes on. These brakes are already set to this fork, so this should be exactly the same as well. So this shouldn't take very long at all. So let's get this one out. Literally no idea why I didn't think about going to the manufacturer the first time, but never mind, we got them now. We take these brakes back off because we've got to fit them to a new fork, obviously. We know the positioning of the pad should be about right, so. Brakes are off. Right, just take this top cap out, drop the fork. It'd be nice to get rid of this because it does take up quite a lot of room, obviously. I think we're about there now. I found some semi-new bolts for this. Okay, conveniently reaches to the saddle. It should just drop straight out now. A couple of spaces on there. So that's out, but we do need to get this crown race off this old fork, which is part of the headset. So we'll get that off next. So the crown race, you need something like this. It's going to basically hook underneath the end of the crown. Tighten these down and just knock it off. If you want to do it sketchy, you can use a screwdriver underneath it in all sorts of ways, but try and get a half decent tool for it. There's loads of room behind this one, so it should come off pretty straightforward. Sometimes there's just no room at all to get behind the actual crown race itself. It can be a bit more challenging, but there's loads of room on this one. See if it'll just knock off. Let's freed it up a bit. So just get this behind there now. Part tool do a very nice pull. I think Junior do one as well, but it's super, super expensive and you don't see many crown races nowadays. Most of them are sort of integrated races on the carbon fork or the split races, so you don't get many of these in there. And then just gently tap this with a mallet and it'll come straight off. Like that. There's the race. That just goes on the new fork. So I'm going to keep these because in the comments there'll be a million people saying, oh, you could clean that up with Y, well, you clean it up with this X, Y, Z. So I'm going to keep it. And the most popular sort of comment that says how to clean this corrosion off at this level, I'm going to give it a go. Let's just see what happens. But for now, we were putting new ones on. A bit of grease on there. Clean up the race and just drop that on and we'll press it on. There's a step it needs to go over here, which is a good fit. So you need another tool to knock this on. You can use a bit of plastic pipe, anything that fits really well. So this park tool basically just slides over the race like that and you just hit the end of the tool with a hammer until it just pushes it on. So that's on basically. So that's on. Just make sure you can't see daylight between any of this around here. It needs to be completely flat. Otherwise you're going to get a tight spot in the steering. I can get this back in the bike. Trike now. You need a star knot first. So star knots can be a bit tricky to install if you don't have the right tools. This is basically a driver that screws onto the end. That's a Junior one. And this is a guide to make sure it goes on straight. You can use it without the guide, but just to be on the safe side. Put this in the tool, set this in there so it's got there. And it just gets the initial whack straight basically. So that goes on there. That goes on there, and with a bit of luck you can get it started straight. But it's a bit of shit this one is. I prefer the part one if I might get one. And then again it's more whacking it with a hammer basically. Once you get it started like that, screw this back in. So you just got to basically bottom this out to that then. Straighten it up as it goes in. So that's basically in, then you just unscrew this and you've got a star knot set. Like so. A bit of fresh grease down here. The bearing's still in the bike. Trike, keep saying bike. There's a bit of a seal on the bottom that goes on first. Up to the top. Wipe off any excess grease around this area because obviously we're trying to clamp onto it. And so just support the fork on a bench or something like that just to stop it falling to pieces while you're trying to put it all back together. And just drop your stem on. Jeez, that's good fit. Get this bolt back in. It needs to go in a bit further than that, but this bolt will pull it up. I'm going to get it somewhere roughly aligned. And we'll nip these back up. I'll put the wheel on, get the alignment right, and then we'll finally torque those down to, what, 11, 12 Newton meters. Get these brakes on, obviously a bit of grease on here. Just drop these back on. So we've already set these pads to the wheel for the old fork, and it is the same fork, so in theory, these should be set pretty much exactly as they were. We'll soon find out. I'll put a bit of Loctite on this first. I don't find much use for these spinners, I'll be perfectly honest for you. don't do a great deal at all. Just get a nice T-handle. It doesn't have to have this flashy blue spinny thing on. It doesn't really do much. Some cheaper versions of this tool out there. Maybe get one day and see what they're like. I've just seen some tools on AliExpress this morning that claim to be part tools. Which is different. Quite specific tools as well, not sort of generic spanners or sort of headset spanners, crank removers and stuff. They're very specific with their part tool part numbers. And looking at the prices, they're not far off the actual real price. They're either fake and they've put inflated prices on it, or they're genuine part tool being sold on AliExpress in China, which I doubt. Right, so they're back on, so we can just drop the wheel in now. Just refitted this brace because it's still spinning around and whacking me. Right, so you'll notice greasy fingerprints on here. What am I going to do with those? I'm literally going to rub it in. Extra protection, because we've seen that this is not the most corrosion resistant fork in the world. So a little bit of oil on this is not going to go amiss. So I think this was left outside for a period of time, which has not done it any favours, but if you just keep a bit of oily residue or oily rag, just rub it through. That's going to give it loads of protection from corrosion. So we have paid for these parts. They weren't donated by the company. I was kind of hoping they would, but they didn't, but we have paid for them. But they seem to have a pretty good range of stocks. Super helpful guys. Very fast delivery as well. If you're in the UK and you've got one of these Trikes, pretty decent quality really. Obviously these Chinese parts are not manufactured by the British company, but you know, to put something on of any better quality is going to make it just ridiculously expensive. Get that up, hook this in, make sure you're still in your lever, which we're not. Fill out the lever there, and pull a bit more cable through, a lot more cable. Let me fire off, try your lever, and put the springs back on. So we do need a bit of adjustment on these pads. Good. These boots here, they're pretty terrible. Sometimes they'll stay on, sometimes they won't. You can put a drop of super glue on there and just hold it in. Obviously, if you ever need to change it, you've got to cut it, but they're just a bit crap. They don't do much at all. Good. So we'll change this damaged chain guard next. So that's an easy job, just get the pedal off. It's just these screws again, super easy. So it wasn't particularly expensive, but I think it'll just make it look a lot fresher. Take that off, just because of this dent here, and I'll say that bit that's folded back there as well, so it's not very good. Out with the old, and on with the new. Chris Fix would say. Chris Fix has gone a bit quiet, isn't he? If you watch any car videos, used to be good, but I think he just got a bit too popular and don't know what's happened. Kind of a bit inspirational really. His sort of videos is the kind of style I've ended up making. I don't know how, but pretty good instructional sort of videos. Like I say, it's all car stuff though. I do still watch quite a lot of car channels. I used to do a lot of sort of restoration work on Toyotas, mostly GT4s, MR2s, and an Alpha GTV, that was a mission. So I do still like watching car videos. Woodworking videos, I don't know why, I don't do any woodworking, but I quite like watching them. Blacktail Studios, stuff like that, all good. Legit street cars, there's good videos as well. Very similar style to what I do, I think, as well. Right, that's on, no dents. Pedal back on, we've already greased it the last time, remember. So that one done, that was easy. Then we've got all these stickers. The ones I want to replace are here, obviously, because they're damaged. They've only given me one of those, so I'm going to change it to these, because I've got a pair of these. I think I'm also going to add that to the chain guard as well, just to bling it up a bit. Actually, I do have a pair of these, so I could use it either. Yeah, let's decide. I'm just going to warm this up a bit with my not part tool heat gun. G-Torque, that's who makes this one. Plastic razor blade, good for the stuff like this as well. They either come off dead easy or just end up coming in a million bits. It's not really left any sticky residue, so I'm just going to wipe it down with some ISO. I think I'll go with these actually, it's pretty good. I'm not an expert at this, by the way. So I'm going to take my gloves off and then just stick her on. This is a bit I always do wrong. Oh, that's not bad. That's not too bad at all, is it? Same on the other side. This is the hard bit. Not bad. I think it fits just. It's a tight fit there. Oh, I think that won't be far off there. Perfect. Blinged up. The rest of these obviously go to the customer as well, so they've got them as spares. So another one finished. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's something slightly different, but I do like to keep some variety on the channel. At the end of the day, it's nuts and bolts. It's got wheels and brakes, so why not film it here? It came out quite well, actually. It's in significantly better condition than what it was. So I will obviously align this stem before I send it back out. Don't worry, I've not forgotten. It's still in the stand with no wheel at the moment, so I'll do that. So if you did enjoy watching it, please consider that subscribe button. I know you tell it every time, but it does make a big difference. And thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.